I waited 3 hours on that bench outside the food court, watching families pass by with shopping bags and laughter. The mall lights had that artificial warmth that made everything feel both safe and hollow. I checked my phone again. No messages, no missed calls, just the time glowing back at me. 8:47 p.m. They'd said they'd pick me up at 6. I wasn't angry yet. That would come later in waves. Right now, I was just tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. My sister Victoria had her ballet recital tonight. The important one, where scouts came to watch, where our parents sat in the front row with flowers already bought, cameras already charged, where I wasn't. I'd taken the bus here this morning because they needed the car for her. That was fine. I understood. Victoria's dance was her future. My debate tournament next week was just a thing I did. Not the same. Never the same. A security guard walked past for the 3rd time, glancing at me with that mix of concern and suspicion they reserve for teenagers alone too long. I smiled at him, the automatic smile I'd perfected over 17 years of being the forgettable one. He nodded and moved on. My thumb hovered over Mum's contact. I'd called twice already, at 7 and at 8. Both times it went to voicemail. Dad's phone was off, which meant he was probably filming Victoria, capturing every perfect pirouette for the family archive that would play at holidays and graduations. Look at Victoria. Look at what she can do. I called one more time. It rang until it didn't. The thing about being forgotten is that it happens slowly, then all at once. It's 1,000 small moments where someone else's need eclipses yours. 1,000 times when you say it's okay, I understand, until you realise you've been saying it so long you've forgotten what it feels like to be chosen. I could have called a cab. I had money. But something in me needed to wait. Needed them to remember, needed this one time to matter enough that they'd come rushing back with apologies and explanations. Needed proof that I existed in their minds when I wasn't standing directly in front of them. The mall announcement system crackled to life. The mall will be closing in 15 minutes. Please make your final purchases and proceed to the exits. I stood up. My legs had gone stiff from sitting. Around me, stores were pulling down their metal gates, their employees eager to leave. I walked to the main entrance and stood under the overhang, watching car headlights sweep through the parking lot. Each time one slowed, my heart jumped. Each time one passed, something inside me settled a little deeper into certainty. At 9:30, I finally opened the rideshare app. The driver's face appeared on my screen. A woman named Patricia with a 5-star rating and a kind smile in her profile picture. 8 minutes away. I sat back down on the curb to wait. The November air had teeth, and I pulled my jacket tighter. Tomorrow, I'd tell them it was fine. I'd smile that smile and say I managed, no big deal. They'd look relieved, and Victoria would already be talking about her recital, and the moment would pass like all the others. Patricia's silver sedan pulled up exactly on time. She rolled down the window. "Olivia?" "That's me." "Hop in, honey. You look frozen." The car was warm and smelled like vanilla air freshener. Soft jazz played on the radio. Patricia pulled out of the parking lot, and I watched the mall shrink in the side mirror, its lights bright against the dark sky. "Long day?" she asked. "Something like that." She didn't push. We drove in comfortable silence, and I felt something unknot in my chest. This stranger had shown up when she said she would. This stranger was taking me home. The irony wasn't lost on me. When we pulled into my driveway, the house was blazing with light. Through the window, I could see them in the living room. Mum and Dad flanking Victoria on the couch, watching something on Dad's phone. Probably the recital footage. They were laughing. "You okay?" Patricia asked, watching my face in the rearview mirror. "Yeah, thank you for the ride." "Any time, sweetheart. You be safe." I walked up the path slowly. Each step felt heavy with something I couldn't name yet. I opened the door. Nobody looked up. Olivia! Mum's voice was bright with distraction. Perfect timing. Come watch Victoria's performance. She was absolutely stunning. I stood in the doorway of the living room. 3 faces glowed in the phone's light, absorbed. None of them showed concern or guilt or even awareness that hours had passed. "Did you have a good time at the mall?" Dad asked, eyes still on the screen. A good time. At the mall. Where I'd sat alone for 3.5 hours waiting for parents who never came. "Yeah," I said. "Great time." Victoria finally glanced at me. "Oh, were we supposed to pick you up? I thought you were getting a ride from someone." "No," I said quietly. "You were supposed to pick me up." "Oh." She turned back to the phone. "Well, you made it home okay." Mum waved me over. "Come, watch this. The Grand Jeté is spectacular." I went to my room instead. I closed the door and sat on my bed in the dark. My phone lit up with a notification. Patricia had given me 5 stars. "Great, passenger. Hope you got home safe." I stared at that message for a long time. A stranger cared more about my safety than my own family had. A stranger who'd known me for 15 minutes had shown more consideration than the people who'd known me for 17 years. I didn't cry. Crying required energy I didn't have. I just lay back and stared at the ceiling, feeling something inside me go very quiet and very still. The next morning, they found me on the bathroom floor. I'd taken pills from 3 different medicine cabinets. Nothing dramatic, just enough of everything to make the quiet permanent. Mum's screaming sounded distant and strange, like it was coming from underwater. Dad's hand shook as he called 911. Victoria stood in the doorway, finally looking at me, really looking at me. Too late, I thought. The words formed clear in my fading mind. "You're all too late." The paramedics came with their urgent voices and their equipment. They worked on me with professional efficiency, but I could feel myself slipping away from them, from all of it. The last thing I heard was Mum sobbing, "Please, please, not my baby." Funny. I'd stopped feeling like anyone's baby a long time ago. Then there was nothing. Then there was everything. I woke up in my bed to morning light streaming through my window, and my phone alarm playing the same song it had played every school day for the past year. The screen showed the date, November 15th, yesterday, or what should have been yesterday. I sat up slowly, my mind crystalline and calm. I remembered everything. The mall, the waiting, the pills, the nothing. And now, this. Another chance, another November 15th, another morning where I could choose differently. I didn't question it. Some gifts aren't meant to be examined, only accepted. I got dressed with deliberate care, choosing clothes I liked, instead of clothes that wouldn't draw attention. I made myself breakfast, taking my time with each bite. Mum rushed through the kitchen in her usual morning chaos, kissing the top of my head without slowing down. "Don't forget, Victoria's recital is tonight," she said, grabbing her coffee. "We'll need to leave by 5. "I'm going to the mall today," I said calmly. "I'll take the bus." "Perfect. We'll pick you up at 6, okay? Make sure your phone is charged." I looked at her directly. "Don't worry about picking me up. I'll get my own ride home." She paused, actually paused, and looked at me. "Are you sure? It's no trouble." "I'm sure." Something in my voice must have registered because she studied my face for a moment longer before nodding. "Okay, honey, if that's what you want. Text me when you get home safe, though." "I will." After she left, I sat at the kitchen table and made a list in my mind. Not a list of grievances or revenge, a list of truths. I was 17 years old, and I had been invisible in my own family for long enough that they could forget me completely without noticing. That was truth. I had spent years accommodating, understanding, making myself smaller so Victoria could shine brighter. That was truth. I had almost died because of it. That was truth. And here was the final truth. I didn't have to anymore. The bus ride to the mall felt different this time. I watched the city pass by the window with new attention, noticing things I'd looked at but never really seen before. The coffee shop on the corner with the hand-painted sign. The bookstore with stacks of novels in the window. The art supply store with its display of watercolours. I got off at the mall, but I didn't go inside. Instead, I walked 2 blocks down to that bookstore. The bell chimed when I opened the door and the smell of paper and coffee wrapped around me. "Help you find something?" An elderly man smiled at me from behind the counter. "I'm just looking," I said. "If that's okay." "Take all the time you need." I spent 2 hours there, pulling books off shelves, reading first lines and last pages, feeling the weight of stories in my hands. I bought 3 novels and a journal with a dark blue cover. The man wrapped them carefully in brown paper. "Good choices," he said. "You have excellent taste." "Thank you," I said, and meant it. I got lunch at the coffee shop, sitting by the window and watching people pass. I wrote in the new journal, not about my family or what had happened or what would happen, but about what I wanted. What I actually wanted, not what I thought I should want. A page of raw honesty that made my hand shake, but also made me feel real. At 5 o'clock, I called a cab. Not a rideshare, an actual cab, from the company my grandmother had always used. The driver was an older man named Robert, who told me about his daughter in college, studying engineering. "She's the first in our family to go for that kind of degree," he said with quiet pride. "Smart as a whip." "You must be very proud," I said. Every single day. Something ached in my chest, but it was a clean ache. The ache of knowing what I'd been missing, not the ache of pretending I hadn't. He dropped me off at home at 5:45. The house was empty. They'd already left for Victoria's recital. I'd known they would be. This time, I'd planned for it. I went to my room and started packing. Not everything, just the essentials. Clothes, toiletries, documents, laptop, the books I'd bought today. I packed like someone who knew exactly where they were going, even though I hadn't figured that out yet. My phone buzzed at 6:30. "Mum, hope you got home okay. Recital is about to start. Victoria looks beautiful." I typed back, "Made it home safely. Have a great night." She sent back a heart emoji. I stared at it for a long moment before setting my phone down. At 7, I called my grandmother, Mum's mother, who lived 2 hours away in a town by the ocean. We talked every few weeks, but it had been a while. "Olivia, what a lovely surprise." "Hi, Grandma, how are you?" "Oh, you know me, same as always. How are you, sweetheart? You sound different." "I need to ask you something," I said, "and I need you to not ask too many questions yet." A pause. Then, "Go on." "Can I come stay with you for a while? Maybe finish out the school year? I can transfer to the high school there." "Are you safe? Are you in danger?" "I'm safe," I said. I need to leave. I need to be somewhere else." Another pause, longer this time. My grandmother was as sharp and kind in equal measure, and I could feel her measuring the situation across the phone line. "When do you want to come?" "Tonight? I'll come get you. Text me your address." "Grandma?" "No," she said firmly. "If you're leaving tonight, I'm coming to get you. That's non-negotiable." "Okay," I said, and felt something release in my chest. "Okay, thank you. Pack warm clothes. It's cold by the ocean." She arrived at 9:15 in her old blue sedan that smelled like peppermint and the lavender sachets she kept in every door pocket. She hugged me tight when I opened the door, not asking anything yet, just holding on. "You ready?" she asked. "Yeah." We loaded my bags into her trunk. I left a note on the kitchen counter, brief and honest. "I'm safe. I'm with Grandma. I need some space. I'll call you tomorrow." Olivia, as we pulled out of the driveway, I looked back at the house one more time. The lights were still off. They'd be home soon, flushed with Victoria's success, probably stopping for ice cream to celebrate. They'd find my note, and they'd call, concerned but not panicked. They'd assume this was temporary, a phase, something to be managed and smoothed over. They'd be wrong. "You don't have to talk about it now," Grandma said as we merged onto the highway. "But whenever you're ready, I'm listening." "They forgot to pick me up from the mall yesterday," I said. The words came out steady. "They forgot I existed because Victoria had a recital. And I realised that's been happening my whole life, just in smaller ways, and I can't do it anymore." Grandma's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Oh, honey." "I'm not angry," I said, and realised it was true. "I'm just done." "That's fair," she said. "That's more than fair." We drove in silence for a while, the dark highway stretching ahead. I rolled down the window slightly, letting the cold air wash over my face. "What's the school like there?" I asked. "Small, about 300 students, good teachers. The debate team won regionals last year." "There's a debate team?" "Course there is. You think I didn't do my research before offering?" She glanced at me with a small smile. "I know you, Olivia, better than you think." My phone started ringing at 10:30. Mum's name flashed on the screen. Then Dad. Then Mum again. I watched them all ring through to voicemail. At 10:45, I texted, "I'm fine. I'm with Grandma. I'll call you tomorrow. Please respect that I need space tonight." Mum: "Olivia, what's going on? Come home right now. We need to talk about this." Dad: "This isn't funny. Where are you?" Victoria: "Mum's freaking out. What did you do?" I turned my phone to airplane mode and put it in my bag. "Smart girl," Grandma said. We arrived at her house just after midnight. It sat on a hill overlooking the ocean, a small cottage with blue shutters and a garden that even in November held the ghosts of summer flowers. Inside, it smelled like home in a way my actual home never had, warm and lived in and welcoming. "Your room's upstairs," Grandma said. "Second door on the right. I keep it made up. Get some sleep, honey. Tomorrow, we'll figure everything out." I hugged her again tight. "Thank you for not asking why." "I know why," she said softly. "I've watched it happen for 17 years, and I've bitten my tongue because I'm not your parent. But you're here now, and that's what matters." The room was small and perfect, with a window overlooking the ocean. I could hear waves in the distance, a rhythm that matched my breathing. I unpacked slowly, putting my things in drawers and on shelves, claiming space. My phone buzzed even on airplane mode. Messages must have been queued. I turned it off completely. I slept better than I had in years. The next morning, I woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. Grandma had breakfast ready, eggs and toast and fresh fruit, plates set carefully at the small kitchen table. "Sleep okay?" she asked. "Better than okay." "Good. Eat up, then we'll make some calls." Over breakfast, she laid out a plan. She'd already contacted the high school. I could start after Thanksgiving break. She'd spoken to her lawyer friend about guardianship paperwork just in case. She had space and time, and, most importantly, she saw me. "Now," she said, pouring more coffee, "I think you need to call your parents. But I'll sit right here with you and you can say exactly what you need to say." I turned my phone back on. 47 missed calls, 32 text messages, 3 voicemails. I didn't read or listen to any of them. I called Mum's number. She answered on the first ring. "Olivia, oh my God, where have you been? We've been worried sick. Get home right now." "I'm at Grandma's," I said calmly. "I'm staying here." What? No, you're coming home today. This is ridiculous. What's gotten into you? You forgot me, I said. The words fell like stones into water, creating ripples. You forgot to pick me up from the mall. You sat at home watching Victoria's recital videos while I waited for 3.5 hours in the cold. And when I got home, not one of you noticed or cared or even apologised. Silence. Honey, Mum said, her voice shifting to placating. We're so sorry. It was an oversight. Victoria's recital was such a big night and we just got distracted, I finished. I know, you always get distracted. Victoria always comes first and I always come somewhere after and I'm done with it. That's not fair, Victoria's voice came from the background. I can't help that my dance is important. And I can't help that I need to matter too, I said. But I don't. Not there. So, I'm here now. Olivia, Dad's voice now, firm and parental. You're 17 years old. You don't get to just leave because you're upset. I'm not upset, I said. I'm clear. Probably for the first time in my life. I'm staying with Grandma. I'm finishing school here. She's already working on the paperwork. Mum, my mother said sharply, clearly to Grandma. You can't just take our daughter. Grandma took the phone from my hand. Her voice was pleasant steel. I didn't take her. She came. And she's staying. And if you want to fight me on this, we can do it through lawyers, but I promise you that won't go the way you hope it will. This is insane, Mum said. She's being dramatic. She's been invisible in your house for years, Grandma cut her off. I've watched you erase that girl's existence bit by bit, and I've had enough. She's made her choice. Respect it. She handed the phone back to me. I need you to hear me, I said into the loaded silence. I don't hate you, but I can't live with you anymore. Not the way things are. Maybe someday we can figure out something different. But not now. Olivia, Mum's voice broke. I'll call you in a few days, I said. But right now I need space. I hung up before anyone could respond. My hands were shaking, but my heart felt steady. Grandma squeezed my shoulder. Proud of you, she said simply. The next 2 weeks passed in a kind of quiet revelation. I enrolled in school. I met teachers who actually remembered my name. I joined the debate team and discovered they practiced like they meant it, like winning mattered. I made friends with a girl named Emma who invited me to study sessions and actually cared about my opinions. I walked on the beach every morning before school, watching the sun rise over the water, feeling the cold sand under my feet. I wrote in my journal. I read the books I'd bought and then bought more. I helped Grandma in her garden, learning the names of plants and how to nurture things. My parents called every day. I answered sometimes, let it go to voicemail others. Our conversations were stiff and strange, full of their protests and my calm refusals to budge. Victoria called once. I don't understand why you're doing this, she said. I know you don't, I said. That's part of the problem. Everyone thinks you're being selfish. Maybe I am. Maybe I need to be. She hung up on me. I didn't call back. Thanksgiving came. They asked me to come home for it. I said no. Grandma and I made dinner together, just the two of us, and ate, overlooking the ocean. We talked about books and colleges and futures. We talked about me like I was real. December arrived with frost and clear skies. I got an A on my first debate tournament. The coach pulled me aside after. You've got real talent, she said. With practice, you could make nationals. I'd like that, I said. In the 3rd week of December, my parents drove up unannounced. They knocked on Grandma's door on a Saturday afternoon, looking tired and older than I remembered. We want to talk, Mum said, really talk. Grandma looked at me. Your choice, honey. I let them in. We sat in the living room, me and Grandma on one couch, my parents on the other. The space between us felt vast. "We've been to a therapist," Dad said. 3 sessions now, trying to understand what happened. "And?" I asked. "And we heard things we didn't want to hear," Mum said quietly. "About favouritism, about how we treated you versus Victoria, about patterns we didn't see." "Or didn't want to see," I said. "Or didn't want to see," she admitted. "Victoria wasn't with them. I didn't ask why." "I'm sorry," Mum said, and she was crying now. "I'm so sorry, Olivia. You're right. We did forget you, not just that night, but in 1,000 small ways. We made you invisible and then acted surprised when you disappeared. We want you to come home," Dad said. "We want to do better." I looked at them, really looked at them. I saw the regret and the pain and the genuine remorse. I also saw that it had taken me leaving for them to see me at all. "I'm not coming back," I said gently. "Not to live. Maybe to visit eventually. But I'm happy here. I'm me here. But I need you to understand something," I said. "This isn't punishment. It's survival. I love you, but I can't go back to being invisible. And I don't trust that things would actually change if I came home. Because the moment Victoria needs something, the moment there's a choice between her needs and mine, I know how it would go." "That's not fair," Mum said. "We're trying—" "I know you are," I said, "and I appreciate that. But trying isn't the same as changing. And I don't want to be the test case for whether you can learn to see me." Dad ran his hand through his hair. "So, what do we do?" "You respect this," I said. "You let me have this space and this life. You work on yourselves without me there, and maybe, in time, we can find a new relationship. But it has to be different. I have to matter as much as she does." "You do matter," Mom said desperately. "You always mattered." "Then why couldn't you remember to pick me up?" The question hung in the air, unanswerable. They left an hour later with promises to call, to visit, to try. I watched their car disappear down the coastal road, feeling neither triumph nor grief. Just a quiet, settled peace. Grandma brought me tea and we sat on the porch watching the winter ocean. "You handled that well," she said. "I just told the truth." "That's the hardest part," she said. Christmas came and went. They sent gifts. I sent cards. We talked on the phone, conversations that were slowly, painfully becoming real. January brought snow to the coast, rare and beautiful. I stood at my window, watching it fall, thinking about the other version of November 15th. The one where I waited and finally stopped waiting altogether. The one where I swallowed pills in silence and disappeared. I didn't feel grateful for dying, but I felt grateful for what came after. This clarity, this courage, this chance to choose myself. In February, Victoria called. "I miss you," she said. "I miss you too," I said and meant it. Mum and Dad are different now, weird different. They ask me about my day, but then they actually listen. They make me help with dinner. They cancelled my private coaching sessions so we could have family time. How do you feel about that? Honestly, it's kind of annoying. So, pause. But also kind of nice. And I'm sorry, I didn't realise. I should have realised. "Yeah," I said. "You should have, but you're realising now. That's something." "Will you ever come home?" "I don't know," I said. "Maybe for a visit this summer. But this is home now. The ocean is home. Grandma is home." "Okay," she said softly. "Okay." March bloomed cold and bright. I turned 18 in April. Grandma threw me a small party, just us, Emma, and a few other friends from school, the debate coach. We ate cake on the beach and I made a wish I didn't tell anyone. Let me always remember what it feels like to be seen, May brought college acceptance letters. I got into 3 schools, all far enough from my parents' house that distance would remain a choice, not an accident. I picked the one with the best debate program and a view of different water. The last day of school, Coach pulled me aside. "You made nationals," she said. "I wanted you to know. For next year, wherever you end up, you're good enough." "Thank you," I said, "for seeing that." "Easy to see," she said. "You just needed space to show it." Summer arrived warm and long. My parents visited twice. Victoria came once, and we walked on the beach together, talking in fits and starts about things that mattered and things that didn't. It wasn't fixed. It might never be fixed. But it was honest now. That counted for something. On an evening in late August, I sat on the porch with Grandma watching the sun set over the ocean. Tomorrow, I'd start packing for college. Tomorrow, I'd begin again in another new place. But tonight, I was here, in this moment, in this piece I'd built from the rubble of that November night. "You know what I think about sometimes?" I said. "What's that, honey?" "That version of me who waited at the mall, who kept waiting, who thought she had to keep shrinking herself to fit into spaces that were never big enough for her." "What about her?" "I hope she knows she didn't have to die to become this person. She could have just left. She could have called that cab and never looked back." "But would you have?" Grandma asked gently. "Without dying first? Without that absolute ending to push you into this absolute beginning?" I thought about it. About the girl I'd been. Trained in accommodation and silence. About how sometimes you need to die to learn how to live. "Maybe not," I admitted. "Maybe I needed to hit bottom before I could recognise that up existed. And now I know," I said. "Now I choose up every single day." The ocean rolled beneath us, eternal and indifferent and beautiful. Somewhere, my family was learning to be different. Somewhere, Victoria was learning that being the favourite came with its own shadows. Somewhere, my parents were sitting with the reality of what their blindness had cost. But here, now, I was whole. I was seen. I was enough. I'd waited 3 hours on that bench outside the food court, and in those hours, I'd learned the most important truth of my life. No one was coming to save me. No one was coming to remember me. No one was coming at all. So I'd called a cab, and in that small, simple act, I'd saved myself. The rest was just learning how to keep doing that, over and over, in bigger and braver ways. The sun sank into the ocean, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet. Tomorrow would come with its own challenges and choices. But tonight I sat in stillness and power and quiet satisfaction. Tonight I was exactly where I belonged, and that was enough. That was everything.